Let's talk to Connor Vasile, political analyst and commentator for Young Voices. Connor, it's nice to have you on the program. I hope I pronounced your last name correct.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'll take it. Don't worry.
Okay. So what do you tell me about this plan in California? It's California Dream for All program, and it includes illegal immigrant applications to buy a house. Give me the lowdown of what's happening there.
Right. So basically, we all know California is the state where, the government is providing for all sorts of procedures, whether you want now a house or sex change surgeries or free education for children or any other facility. They are able to provide that. And now what we're having here with the Dream for All Act is this case where Californian citizens who are struggling to make a home for themselves, to get a house for their own, they're now basically met with this entire group. Illegal migrants now basically get to input their applications into this process, and they're actually now considered for these down payments, as you mentioned, up to $150,000 in order to get a house of their own. So they're practically de facto citizens at this point.
That's what it seems like. And listen, you're right on, because my brother is a real estate agent in San Diego. And I think the average or the median household is about $1 million on average to buy a house there. So we do know that there are many legal residents, including veterans, who can't afford homes. Are these illegal immigrants now jumping in line? Are they cutting in line? Are they going in front of the people who live there legally and even veterans? Is that what's happening? Is that the perspective of the Californians?
I mean, considering how they, violated a law in order to come into this country, yeah, they're basically jumping that process as well. And it's really unfortunate because we're seeing actual, American citizens struggling in this economy in these times, and you have governments that are basically disregarding them in order to get either political points or voting support from these new people. And this is not just unique to California. You see it in Oregon, Washington, you see it in Chicago, New York City, etc. You see all of these state and local governments basically acknowledging that these people are here to stay, and they just want to support them over actual American citizens.
Well, it's reckless because, they're spending more money they don't have, which my understanding of economics is that will only exacerbate the cost of living crisis. So they've got, I think, if I'm not mistaken, California has a $46 billion budget deficit, $46 billion. And they still decided to pass this bill. It's AB 1840. What does that portend, do you think? What does that say about what might be just around the corner in terms of the economic impact it has on California?
Oh, absolutely. What we're dealing with here is just play money, right? It's made up money. As long as the government keeps printing dollar bills, they don't really care. And besides, as we all know, this isn't the Californian government's money. This is our money, right? This is the taxpayer money. And considering how much in debt, as you just mentioned, they are going to be in, it's not just our debt. It's going to be our children's, our grandchildren's, all the way down the line. This is just the hole they keep digging for themselves because they just can. They have the power. You mentioned other states like Oregon, Washington. These are, obviously very liberal states. Michigan is becoming that way. And we here in this state, our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, in her administration has started this kind of Michigan, quote unquote, newcomer program, which pays $500 a month for housing immigrants, including illegal immigrants, $500 a month. Which is, controversial here, but do you see this might be a first step towards what's happening in California, where we're going to start providing maybe these massive down payments so these illegal immigrants can start buying houses in states like Michigan? It's definitely a trend. If they had their way, they would make this a national policy, right? So regardless of where you go, whatever state, blue, red, pink, purple, you're going to have these subsidies for individuals who, quite frankly, have no legal right to be there. So unfortunately, that is the trend, especially with the election coming up. That is what they intend to do. We already see these programs well underway in places throughout Europe, right, with their migrant issues over there. So at this point in time, the Democrats have their way. They would want to subsidize all sorts of demand, whether that's housing, food, entertainment. It's all going to be government run because, hey, they have the more control over it at the end of the day.
You know, you're with Young Voices, right? So I'm sure there are young people that you represent. And I guess we had a young congressman on just a bit ago. He's 27 years old. I think he's the youngest member of Congress. He's a Democrat out of Florida, and he supports all these types of subsidies going towards illegal immigrants, and he believes they should all be made U.S. citizens. Do you think that is the primary position of the younger demographic in this country?
As a whole, I don't believe so. I mean, you have your outliers, right, on both sides. What we see from that gentleman from Florida is basically the step on the line, so to speak, position for the Democratic Party as of right now. And at the end of the day, they want to, all these efforts will lead eventually to citizenship, because they know that they're going to get political support for their efforts. They don't care about whatever turmoil may come from an economic, crime-wise, social, as long as they get their support and they can boost their electoral votes, like in places in California, which have been benefiting, quite frankly, from the boost of the illegal immigrant population there. They will do whatever it takes because that is their strategy. But in terms of the actual, general view of the younger people in America, I think they're starting to wake up. And they're starting to see that this is untenable. And they need to basically have an America that's not only good and prosperous and healthy for them, but also their kids when the time comes.
Yeah. Well, it's a critical issue, and I think you're right. This is a trend. I do believe it is spreading across the country. You mentioned Oregon, Washington, California, of course, a big one. Colorado probably in that mix as well, but Michigan is going down that pathway also. How do you pronounce your last name? I want to make sure we get it right.
It was good.
Okay. Connor, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Connor Vasile, political analyst, commentator for Young Voices. Take care, buddy. Connor, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.